for inviting me this morning to Businessworld's Sustain Labs Maiden Sustainability event. I'm glad that the movement towards a sustainable India is gathering momentum. I think the Indian private sector, especially the top companies, and many from our group itself, are the torchbearers for promoting sustainable business models and are really leading by example. I really congratulate all of them on their achievement. India is a developing nation, as we all know, and in the past few decades, all of us have seen substantial progress in the key socio-economic indicators. For India, realizing the potentials of its population will be a key driver of progress and growth. Opportunities to work, to be productive, to be able to provide food on the table for your family, basic requirements of a roof over your head. I think these are all very interlinked to the economic prosperity of a nation. Out of these, in my view, housing is the most critical aspect. Not because I work in housing, but I think it is the most critical aspect. And the impact it has in opportunities, both in creating employment, in creating a lot of social stability, I think is very, very well known. It is said that when a house is built, 270 odd companies, entities get affected by, housing. So we actually create 270 industries, maybe create jobs. And I think that is so very important. Besides, you would have seen often so many social studies that if there are lumpen elements in society, and every society has this, people don't create problems where they stay. The problems are created away from home. So home ownership actually, to a great extent, also helps in a whole lot of social stability. Social mobility is also another thing that owning a house helps. Everybody's aspiration is to move from whatever social strata you're born in, you work in, to go to the next level. Until the mid-70s, actually, the Indian middle class had no avenues from where they could raise money to buy homes. You could only think of buying a home after you retired. And most people, like my parents, had to wait till they retired, and more than half of the retirement benefits actually went into buying that home. There were no housing finance companies. And worse still, a lot of the amount that the builders were, you needed to pay at times was, in many situations, some bit of unaccounted money that had to be paid. I think HDFC came on the scene around 78, and I think it's completely changed. According to the World Bank, 3 billion people in India still need housing. And according to the, and what we are seeing more and more as the population is growing, as our numbers are growing, the housing shortage only increases. That is the other thing that has happened. So, as I said earlier, there is a complex relationship between housing and inequality. Housing helps you become that much more equal. I think it can reflect both, and it reinforces it right through all socioeconomic groups, not only, I would say, the lower income groups. So we recognize this. And in 1977, H.D. Parekh, our then chairman, actually set up HDFC. The success of HDFC and what we've achieved was basically, at that point in time, ensuring and emphasizing middle class income in India, that when you take a housing loan, you have to pay it back, and to judge that he has that integrity to pay back an obligation. And the other thing I would like to mention here is this: across our group companies, we have, in a wholehearted endeavor, tried to make sure that whether it is insurance, whether it is banking, whether it is the asset management, business, that we've tried to make it as financially exclusive as we can for every strata of society. And also we have led by example. I think we were one of the companies which we gave, between the group companies that we have, we contributed 150 crores to the PM's Care Fund. Also, one of the other things that I'm very proud of saying is that in this day and age, even in some of the companies that are smaller for us, we have not laid off any people. going through the COVID situation, you've seen people on contract have lost jobs. In HDFC and our group companies, we have made sure that during this period, people's kitchens were running and there was food on their table. But where are we going to go here from now? As we all know, and these are statistics, India is set to surpass China as the world's most populous country by 2027. We are at about 1.37 billion, second only to China's 1.4 billion. And we expect to add another 230 billion by 2050. Growing population, along with growing income equality, brings acute focus on affordable housing and the need for it in our country. Another metric I'd like to share with this audience is also, if you see other countries, even Thailand, even the smaller countries which are not the so-called developed countries, if you see the GDP to mortgages ratio in those countries, they are in the mid-20s. Even China is in the mid-20s. We in India are barely, in the double digit. We've just crossed 10. So affordable housing is taking center stage very quickly internationally as well. The housing is recognized as a basic need. And I think governments across, whether it be Africa, whether it be, Europe, Eastern Europe, wherever they are developing economies and underdeveloped economies, housing is becoming one of the main purposes that the governments are seeing how they can affect middle income citizens' own homes. The future of national competitiveness and economic success will depend on the comparative efficiencies of Indian cities also. So we also need to make sure that the cities provide means of livelihood also, but in addition to that, they also become an economic engine. So we are already seeing a whole lot of migration coming in from the rural areas into urban areas. But what is the quality of life? What is the availability of affordable housing? How are they going to live? And we do not want to end up having more slums than we have. I think all this is going to become very important. The role and function of housing is multifaceted. Housing choices impact access to infrastructure, employment, housing wealth, health, very important health, If you have your own space, you have your own washrooms, you can keep it clean, the women can be healthier instead of having to go out. And I think the whole cycle of lower poverty levels, maternal and child mortality, more women participating in the workforce because there is some level of security back home. I think all these things increase and are really indicators of well-being. As India seeks to improve its living conditions on a large scale, I think the Prime Minister's Yojana, Awas Yojana, the PMAY scheme, has contributed hugely for us to, we haven't realized it, but I think we are on a way of realizing this dream. Under the Prime Minister's scheme, there are enough and more schemes where, whether you're in the rural area or you're in the urban area, you end up getting subsidies if it is the first house that you're buying. I'm happy to say that at HDFC, for the last 2 years, we have been topping the charts in being able to get the subsidy from the government and passing it on. We've done close to 200,000 homes have been funded through that, and I think we still have a decent pipeline. So where do we go from here? And what do you think is going to happen? I think we need a lot more investor participation. We should see, REITs, what they call the real estate investment trusts, come into being. They're already there as far as office spaces are concerned, but that is another way of attracting more money into housing and into rental housing more than housing. Rental housing in India, as you know, rarely exists. Again, the government has come out with a rental housing scheme. If that takes up, I think it'll be another game changer as far as we are concerned. Also, evolution of the developer, evolution of the people who are in the process of right now starting homes. What has already happened, I think they can't change. But there is a great awareness now, even in some of the smaller developers, as to how green can their projects be? How environmentally friendly can they be in terms of using the wastewater? How can they make sure that they have enough light and green spaces around? I think the whole concept of smaller homes also requires much better planning, because whilst they'll end up being, in terms of per square meter area, the densities will go higher, but you still need to make sure that they continue to be healthy. So we are also seeing that happening in a big way as far as housing is concerned. Again, capacity creation. So there are technical support services which are now available, and there are people who help even self-construction. If they want to undertake self-constructions, or you want to redo your house, there is technology available. There are entities available who can come and guide you as to how you can make your homes more energy efficient, use less electricity, use more of the light. I think that has become it's slowly becoming a norm. We have been always at HDFC very supportive of innovation and collaboration across all our stakeholders, and we remain deeply committed to this vision of providing these financial solutions. Not only financial solutions, I think even putting people in touch with the right people in terms of design, etc. We recommend that our government, our regulators, put in efforts in promoting financial inclusion. The Reserve Bank's recent report on the National Strategy on Financial Inclusion, I think, is very, very timely. And banks and NBFCs are coming together to achieve these aspirations. And we are seeing this in all the sectors. Even when you look at insurance, the micro-insurance product that is there, our insurance companies are participating in it. In terms of weather insurance that you're seeing, which really helps the poor farmer or the marginal farmer, we are seeing a lot of that is happening. The World Social Report of 2020, published by the UN Department of Economic and Social Affairs, more known as DESA, notes how we in India have harnessed the potential of digital technologies for more inclusive development. Societal good happens when government, public, and private sector come together and create avenues for the system to match the current needs, so that we have solutions that fit many. Okay. Looking at this success, I've already talked about the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, and as I mentioned earlier, we adapted to it easily and swiftly and quickly, and I think we've made a lot of difference in many lives. I just want to say we are committed. HDFC and all our group companies are committed for a long-standing, for a long time to come in the future, to make sure that all that is available, either in terms of environmental friendliness or social uplifting, to make sure that we not only practice it, but we also make sure the stakeholders that we deal with also accept it, harness it, and try to use it for the good of all of us here. Thank you so much. And I wish your conference all success, and I'm sure it's going to be very good. And I look forward to hearing from you, whatever the outcome of this conference is. Thank you, and stay safe. Bye.